A very warm welcome to everyone who's present here inside the session, as well as those who are watching this as a recording on YouTube. Today's live community session is going to be about how do we transition from a full-time corporate job to a full-time life coaching business. Now, this is the exact path that I took in my business. I will be talking about in detail what are the things that I did, as well as the mistakes that I would avoid if I were to start all over again. So without waiting, we are going to begin. Okay. So how these live sessions go is that you guys can ask any of the questions you may want to in the end. And before that, I'll just be discussing the topic at hand. And for those of you who would like to attend these sessions live, or you are an aspiring life coach who wants to actually get trained and get into the coaching business yourself, then you can simply become a part of my community called the Empowered Coach Community, where I will be launching a life coach training program in the coming June for those who want and are serious about starting a coaching business of their own. And to enroll in, you can simply DM Empowered to me either on LinkedIn, or if you're connected on WhatsApp, you can, text me there. Now, this is the very first thing you must know, which is the path to actually becoming a life coach, specifically a paid life coach. Now, why do I always say that there is a difference between being a life coach and being a paid life coach is that it's very easy to get a certificate. Okay. It's not a big deal. That is why you will often see that maybe there are too many coaches in the world, or, everybody wants to be one, because the bar of entry into the coaching business is incredibly low, right? Anybody can call themselves a coach. Anybody can just, go and get a cheap certification from anywhere. Doesn't actually mean that they are making money from it. Doesn't actually mean that it is a profession. Because life coaching as a profession means that you are actually getting paid for the services you're rendering. Okay, that is a difference. You can get a certificate from anywhere and you can call yourself anything you want. It does not make a difference. Okay. The only way you actually become a paid life coach is when you know the life coaching skills as well as the business skills it takes to run a full-time coaching business. That is why the bar of entry into the coaching business is very low, but the bar of success is equally high. Only the people who are willing to invest in themselves, and I'm not saying just money. Yes, that's a part of it, but the coming from a place that I'm willing to invest my time and energy, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to become the highest version of me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to overcome the fears that I have. The kind of people who are able to do that are the ones who reach to a point where they're full-time coaches and they're making money doing what they love, right? So that is why you must know that when you enter into this field, you may feel like there are too many people, but when you have been in this field for a while, you will often find that most people drop off because most people want quick results. Most people just want a quick hack. They want to do everything for free. They will go and watch, videos after videos, this hack, that hack. They will try to get squeeze in free webinars, resources, and yada yada, and all of that, instead of actually getting trained, instead of actually understanding what it takes to run a life coaching business, instead of actually understanding what it takes to run a business in itself, right? So when you move forward into this field, you will find that it's very empty at the top, right? There's a saying that I've also used before, which I often love, is that it's always crowded at the bottom, but very lonely at the top. When you begin, right, when you're at level 1, level 0, you will find that there are too many people. But when you start moving ahead, you will find that there are not enough people. I personally don't know enough coaches. I personally don't know enough very well paid coaches, right? It's because when you begin your journey, there are a lot of people who are excited. There are a lot of people, yeah, I will do this, I will do that. But when it actually comes to investing in themselves, right? So, for example, the very first barrier is, of course, money, right? A lot of people will come with excuses that, oh my God, I don't have it. I can't create it. I have it, but I'm too afraid to invest it. Oh, no, 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 let me just do this or let me just do that. Or they will run behind free resources. The first barrier is, of course, that. First barrier is money. So 50% people drop off there. The rest 50% is time and energy, right? So a lot of people think that, yeah, of course, I can give my time and energy and yada, yada. But when I say time and energy, I don't mean time and energy in the sense that I need you to work 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day even. The beautiful part about having a business is that it requires efficiency. It requires you to be more instead of do more. Understand the difference. When you're in a corporate job, you have to do more. But when you're in a business, you have to be more as a person, be more visionary, being more creative, being more efficient, being more courageous, right? And this is where the rest of the, barrier starts to happen. Some people are able to give time, but they're not in the right energy because they have not removed the limiting beliefs. Some people are in the right energy, but they are unable to create time in their lives, right? So these are the three barriers that exist. First is, of course, the investment of money. A lot of people want to just go down the free path, so they don't get trained, and that is why they never become actually proper trained coaches. Second is the, time and energy barrier. So when you are able to cross all three of them, you will find that there are very less well-trained coaches who are actually solving great problems and are making great money. So in the beginning, yes, it may feel like there is a crowd, it may feel like there are too many people doing that. And that's the same thing with anything. Like if you were to become a content writer, let's say if you were to become a marketing person, or let's say even uh one of the things that people say is that, there are a lot of influencers these days. If you start to even become that, right, in the beginning you will feel that, oh my god, there's so many people who are doing that. But when you cross those three barriers, right, you start to realize that there are very few people who are good at it and are being paid well, right? So that is a difference I really want you to understand. Simply getting a certification, simply calling yourself anything doesn't mean that you're actually, a well-paid life coach who's actually enjoying their life, right? So you must understand that this is what I want you to understand. This is something where, I wanted to understand before you even get into a training program. The whole idea of me doing these community sessions for you guys is just that. Understand the real picture, understand what it takes to become a life coach. Again, not doing more, but being more. Are you willing to be more courageous? Are you willing to work on your limiting beliefs? Are you willing to remove your money blocks? Are you willing to be that future version of you who already has everything he or she wants right now? That is what we need to focus on. Because again, getting trained as a life coach, it's not a very big deal. When you work with me, you will be an excellent coach. I know that for sure. But that's not the point. That's just one step of the journey. The next step of the journey is when you actually have to, come out there and put yourself out there, right? So that is what you need to understand, and that is what you need to commit to. One of my favorite coaches in the world is Rich Litvin. If you're a coach right now, I highly recommend reading the book The Prosperous Coach. And one of the things that he said that really, really resonated with me personally a while back was that, are you in it for the long term? Like, are you playing the long game? And if you really ask yourself that again and again and again, you will often find that when we begin something, we're very excited, we're very motivated, we want to just do this and do that. But when things are not going according to our way, when we have to, create resources to be in the game, are we willing to do that? Right? So that is the question you must ask yourself. Am I willing to play the long game is the first question you need to ask yourself, specifically when you're going into business, because it's easy to hop jobs. Okay, it's easy to be disinterested in your work and still do it. And even in jobs, honestly, if you're disinterested, you're not good at it, you're going to get laid off. Like, you're not going to be uh, able to have a good career. But even then, you can be disinterested and do your job, and nobody will pay that much notice. But when it comes to a business, you must understand business is not like a job. Okay, it responds to your energy, specifically a coaching business. Coaching business comes from your nervous system, right? So whatever it is that you feel about yourself, about your life, about your work, your business is going to respond like that, right? So when you are entering into business, always ask yourself, am I in it for the long game? Am I willing to be in it even if things get difficult? Am I willing to do whatever it takes that I have to do to make this a success, right? Or whatever your idea of success is. So that continues to be one of my favorite questions, because the good thing about business is that, you can do whatever the hell you want. The sky is the limit, but that also means that sometimes there are highs and lows. Sometimes you don't get the results that you want, and on those days, obviously you're not going to feel always great. But on even on those days, you must ask yourself, am I in it for the long game? And that's something that I've always asked myself. Even, even today, if I, let's say, were to not have a good day, I would still ask myself the same question. That let's say the next 6 months are bad, would I still do this work? My answer to that question has always been yes. Always been yes. I've always known that no matter what, I would still choose to do this than anything else in the world. In fact, one of my biggest fears was going back and doing the work that I absolutely hated doing, listening to people that I don't want to listen, doing work that I know is meaningless and is not driving any result, and making money that, is not fulfilling any of my desires. Right. So that's something that was my biggest fear more than anything else, to be honest. I was willing to fail again and again in my business than to go back and live a life that I hate living. So when you are starting out your business, and I think, the reason I'm telling you guys, and it is a bit intense, is because I wanted to understand the intensity of it. A lot of times what tends to happen is that people underestimate commitment that they actually need, right? They come with half hearts and then they get scared and they're like, oh my God, it is harder than it looks. But in reality, it's not really hard, because becoming a life coach is not hard. It's the commitment that you need, right? Are you willing to commit is a question you must ask. So right now, if whatever I'm saying is scaring you, it's good. It should give you a reality check that are you actually someone who wants to build a business, or are you someone who thinks it's a hobby, or you just want to see where it's going, and again, you're not really sure what you want to do, right? So it's a good thing. I asked myself this again and again, which prepared me mentally that whatever happens, I would still do it. Right. So this is a question I had the answer to when I was not making any money in the beginning of my business, right? The first like month. And even today, when I do make it, or even when I'm not having, let's say, a good month or a good week or even a good day, the answer to the question is still yes, that no matter what happens, I would still do it. I would still choose to do this business over anything else. Okay. Now, coming back to what we were discussing, just give me a moment. Are you guys able to see my screen now? It should be visible now. Is my screen visible now for you guys? Okay. All right. So coming back to the original topic, the path to becoming a life coach is the very first thing is getting trained as a life coach, practicing your hours, gain your confidence as a coach, do your hours and get your certification. That's the very first step that most people are able to, complete. Then the second step is taking on paid clients. So after, you are done actually practicing your coaching skills, after you're actually done taking your certification, then it is time to actually practice your coaching skills on paid clients. Which here is where you create your offer. You start offering your services to other people, and it's basically telling people that, look, this is what it takes to work with me. This is the number of sessions I take. This is the amount I charge, and here is how you can work with me. Third is increasing the number of clients. Now, all of this can be happening while you are working in your job, because it does not require a lot of effort. So you must understand that, let's say if you're working 5 days a week, you can choose to have 3 or 4 sessions of the weekend with your clients, right? Which means that, let's say you can work with 4 clients a week, which means you're doing 4 hours of coaching every single week. Now you can either fix these hours with your clients either on the weekend, which is 2 hours on Sunday, 2 hours on Saturday. You can do all 4 of them on Saturday, or you can do one on Monday, one on Tuesday, again, whatever works for you, right? Which means that it doesn't really require a lot when you have done your training. So when you are, let's say, undergoing training, it could be it again depends on what training are you taking into. For example, the one I'm designing for my students is going to be at least 2 to 3 months long, and taking into account that they're full-time working professionals. So based on whatever training you're taking, it's going to require some time. For example, let's say 4 to 5 hours a week. So again, you can either sprinkle it throughout the week or you can do it on the weekend. For example, I'll tell you about me. So I also had a job when I started getting trained as a life coach. I had a job at that time. So what I did was that my case was a bit different because I was a little bit crazy. Whenever I like something, I completely dedicate myself to that. So I would finish my work around 7 p.m. and from 8 to 12, I would just study it. And my coach told me I don't have to do it. But I was like, I love this work so much that I want to study. So because I was very much into it, and because I would study everything, not just coaching, I studied how to write content, I studied other coaches, I studied how does the business world actually work, and of course I got coached around all of my limiting beliefs too. So for me it was much faster, but again, depends on you as a person. But let's say a good number would be giving 3 to 4 hours a week after you're done training. That also requires 3 to 4 hours a week. So let's say if you're working with 4 clients, let's say a week, or let's say 4 clients in a month, it's very easy to make 6 figures as a coach. It's not a very big deal, to be honest. Then the step 3 is increasing the number of clients. So here, let's say after you're done getting 1 or 2 clients, here you slowly increase the number of clients that you have gotten, right? So that you can increase your revenue. Then the last is increasing your prices, offerings, and scope of serving. So this is where, you get prepared to, leave your corporate job. So for example, I left my corporate job in the second month of starting my business because I was able to match my salary. One. Second, I was also like my risk taking ability was quite high, right? It still is quite high, but I'm surprised when I look back that it was that high that I was able to do it. Because again, I wasn't, this is something that I wasn't recommended, but I just did it because my desire to have a good business was much, much, much higher than my fear of failure. I had a very big fear of failure. I won't lie. That's something that I had. But my desire to come out of that job, my desire to live a life I'm in love with was much, much higher. Right. So that desire translated into my reality. So, which also brings me to one more insight that I can tell you from my journey is that if your desire is very high, desire to create a business you love, desire to go out there and experiment, desire to whatever you learn, you implement it, then that is how you will make an excellent business person. Because that is something that I've learned from my journey. I have never waited for validation. If I wanted to do something, I just went out and did it. Right. And that not only fueled my confidence as a coach, but that also made me realize just how open I am to experimenting. And I was okay if even if things did not work out. Right. So this is both good and bad according to how you view it. Good is that business is excellent for people who love experimenting, because here you don't have to take anybody's permission. You wanna apply an idea, you go do it. For example, if I want to charge a certain amount of money to my clients, I do it. I don't take anybody's permission. That's how much freedom you get in your business. Bad is for people who have never worked on themselves, and that is why you require a coach. A coach who has not gotten coached themselves is literally a failure waiting to happen. So you must work with your coach to build that kind of independence in your brain and build that kind of nervous system capacity that whatever idea comes to you, you just go out there and implement it. Right? That's the beauty of business. Whatever ideas come to you, you can go and literally implement it. And the thing with a life coaching business is how easy it is to implement it, because you literally have to do your work with your laptop or your computer, right? It's not that there is a series of things you have to do. You have to build a product, nothing. Just have to go out there and tell people, look, this is what I'm offering these days, right? This is how I've done my business. Whenever I wanted to do something, let's say if it's a masterclass, a workshop, a group program, I wanted to increase my prices, I wanted to do something, I just did that. And I still had people come to me because I've trained my brain, I've gotten coached to a point where I do whatever I want without fearing, oh my God, whether people will come to me or not. So step 4 is here where you are prepared to leave your corporate job, where you increase your prices, your offerings, that maybe let's say you are okay doing a group program as well, and scope of serving, wherein, you may take long-term clients, let's say clients for 6 months or 8 months, or here you are simply, um, willing to like offer more, right? Maybe take on more clients or maybe take longer term clients. And again, the permutation and combinations are endless, right? So this is what the path really looks like to becoming a life coach. Now, let's try to evaluate what is the right time to quit. When should you actually quit your job is a question that I think a lot of people don't ask themselves, either they quit too early, okay, or they're so afraid that they don't actually sit down and ask themselves the question, right? They're always in this uh, non-clarity that, oh my God, one day I will do it. There's just a lot of, unanswered questions, unanswered fears. So they never really come to that place where they've actually quit their job and actually transition into a full-time business. So here are a few questions you must ask. So very first thing we must do is we must evaluate your position. Where are you right now? Okay, let's say you have gotten trained as a coach. Okay, that is something that's done. That's out of the picture. And now you are in your coaching business, right? You are marketing your services. You are going out there and telling people how to work with you, and you are trying to create clients. Very first thing is, where are you in your coaching business, right? Which means, are you just a beginner, right? Have you just started out? You have like zero clients, you have not made any money, you're just starting out. If yes, then you're in the first stage, which is you're a beginner. Second is, you are a novice coach, which means that you can meet some of your expenses. Let's say that you can pay for your shopping, you can pay for your food expenses, you can pay for when you go out, right? So you cannot meet all of your expenses. You can meet some of your expenses, like for example, a part of your rent or your groceries, whatever. So that's a novice coach, someone who has crossed the beginning stage, who has started working with clients. Next is, you can meet almost all of your expenses. You're able to meet your rent, you're able to meet your groceries, almost all the expenses, like 75 to 80% you're able to meet, right? Next is, you're able to replace your business income with your job income, which means that you have come to a place in your coaching business where you can meet all of your expenses with your business itself, right? Which means that whatever you used to make in your job, you've replaced it with whatever you're making in your business, right? Next is, you are making more in your business than you are at your job. So here is where you have reached a place of an excellent coach, wherein you can just quit your job. You don't really have to wait more, right? So you must first evaluate, where are you? Are you a beginner? Are you a novice? Are you proficient? Are you an expert, or are you an excellent coach, right? A lot of times, what tends to happen is that people do reach the path that they are an excellent coach, but they are very afraid of letting go of their jobs because they don't really trust that they can do a full-time coaching business. That's one part of it. But you actually don't need to quit your job. That's also something I want you to understand. If you love your work, okay, if your work sort of gives you the flexibility to not go full-time in your business, because again, being into a business full-time requires a high emotional um, resilience, and more than that, it requires a certain risk-taking ability. If you're not comfortable with that, you actually don't have to quit your job. You can continue your job and you can have a life coaching business at the side. That will be a great surplus income in your life, right? It will create more income in your life. It will give you more satisfaction because you'll be impacting lives. It will give you more meaning into your work as well. Or another path is that you can take a less stressful job, which may pay a little bit less, and you can supplement whatever income you want from your business, right? So quitting your job is not the only answer. That's one path. That's for people who actually want to go into full-time business and who don't want to do a job, which was my case, right? Even if I would have loved my work, which I don't think would have happened, but even if I did, I still never wanted to do a job because my core value has always been freedom. I don't like working in structure. I don't like when people tell me what to do. I don't like answering to anyone. I don't like anybody's validation, right? So that's something that I've always been very clear with. So I knew that even if I go in a job, either I would perform horribly, or I'm just going to lose any will to do any kind of work. And that's something that was very scary to me, right? So I was in that bracket, but that's not the case with everyone. Okay, if you actually love your work and you love your job, you don't have to quit your life coaching business. In fact, I have mentored someone, and she started her entire coaching business under me. She made money and she still continued her job. She made progress also. She got promoted also in her job, and she's still continuing her business because she loved her job that much. And she asked me that, and I told her, you don't have to. If you don't want to quit your job, you don't have to quit your job. So that is also a thing. The thing is that when you start a business, it gives you the freedom to be flexible in your income as well, which means a lot of times what tends to happen is that um, People are unable to quit their jobs because they don't have an alternate source of income, or they feel that they have so many expenses that is, being paid by the job, that they just don't have a choice. So what tends to happen is they start to lose their confidence in work, they start to lose interest in their work and in their life in general. What business gives you, or what that income gives you, is freedom to make more choices that you actually like. For example, let's say you want to take a break from your career, for whatever reason, you still have your business, because again, a coaching business requires just 3 or 4 hours a day, in a like 3 or 4 hours a day every day. So it doesn't require a lot of effort, right, when you have reached to that level. So quitting is just one option. If you don't want to quit, again, that's the beauty of business, you can do whatever the hell you want with it. Now the next thing to inquire about is, what are your needs, which is, what are my needs? How much money do I absolutely need every month? Now this would include whatever living expenses you have, which means your rent, if you are living in rent, if you're renting a house, your groceries, your EMIs, your like loans that you have to pay off every single month. So write down that number. What are your needs? How much money do I absolutely need every single month? Second is, ask yourself, am I making that much for my business? If not, where is the gap? Am I making 50% of it? Am I making 20% of it? Am I making 75% of it? What is the gap? Now, this is what you need to go to your coach with and tell that this is the gap I want to bridge. Okay. If you are someone who wants to make as much as you're making from your job in your business, go to your coach and tell them that. Right. That's the beauty again of having a coach with yourself. You can go and solve any problem that you want. Right. Then the third thing is, do I have a 6-month emergency fund with me? So this question is valid for people who want to quit their jobs. Now, again, the case with me was a bit different here as well. I did not ask myself this question because, again, my desire and my belief that I will always be able to meet my expenses was so high that even at the time when I did not have a 6-month emergency fund, I did quit my job. I had that much belief in my abilities, and I had that much drive to do it. Like, I was in a place in my life where I was very clear that I would do whatever it takes, literally whatever it takes. And I did do that. I mean, I learned a lot. Again, this doesn't mean that I hustled. I worked less even when I quit than I was working in my job. The point was that I was very efficient with my work. So this is a practical way of looking at it. Okay. My case was a bit different. But again, if your desire is high, then it will sail you through anything. But still, we'll go with the practical advice here, which is, when you are preparing to quit your job, ask yourself, do I have a 6-month emergency fund with me? Which means that do I have 6 months worth of expenses with me? This is so that even when you do transition into full-time business, and let's say, you don't go out there and, outrightly make money, which is something that happens very, very, common in business, then you don't feel that you have entered into survival mode, right? You don't become desperate for money, and you don't become desperate for things, and you don't lose your sense of peace. I remember this quote, again, it was from Rich Litwin. I think it was in the Prosperous Coach itself. He said that if you are coming into coaching for money, don't come into it. If you need money, don't go into coaching. Only come into coaching when you're willing to serve, and money will be a simple byproduct of it. And that is something I've pulled very close to my heart. One of the reasons why a lot of coaches also fail is they become very desperate, and it is visible in their faces. It is visible in their energy. It is visible in the things that they do and try. When you are in a business and you become desperate, that's when you start to lose, right? Because desperation is energetically one of the lowest vibration there is. It involves fear, it involves insecurity, it involves always being in survival mode, always looking for free stuff, and just like trying to, like pinch on to any penny that you can. And that energy isn't great when you are coming to, work with a client, right? So make sure that when you are quitting a job, you have a 6-month emergency fund, so that that place does not come that you become desperate. So this is again a question you must ask. Do I have any outstanding payments, loans, EMI, or commitments? Again, this is a part of your needs. So do I have any payments that I have to make absolutely every single month? And if I don't, then it's gonna make me feel very insecure. So for me, this was not the case because I did not, I am someone who's against EMIs. So I have never taken anything on an EMI. I only buy things if I have the money. So that philosophy helped me in my business as well because I did not have any EMI or an outstanding payment or loan when I started my business. So if you have that, take it into account, okay, and add that to your needs. But if this is something that has to go from a bank account every month, right? So based on this, we will have a clear picture of this is the amount of fund you actually need in your bank account before you quit your job. Now, the next part comes about your risk-taking ability, which means that what exactly is your risk-taking ability like at this moment, right? So one question you must ask yourself is, am I willing to fully commit to my business? Now, when I say commit, and why am I not saying, do I want to be successful in my business? Because business is up and down, okay? It's not always up and it's not always down. It's a valley, okay? Anybody who has ever done a business will always tell you that it's a series of up and down. And business is more about your emotional resilience than anything else, to be very honest, specifically a life coaching business. Because not only are you dealing with emotions of your clients every single day, when you're doing your business, it's very important that you have that emotional resilience. That is why a person, a coach who does not have a coach of their own will fail. It's like a prophecy. Because when you yourself are not taking the help you need to expand your brain, you will do something or you will give up on your business or you will get into debt or other ways people fail in coaching businesses. So when I say commit, you must ask that if my business is not doing well, let's say, for whatever reason, could be anything, will I give up on it? Will I run away? Will I be afraid? Will I blame my business? Will I blame the economy? Will I blame the market? Because I've seen people do that. I've seen people complain, oh my God, clients are like this. Oh my God, the market is like this. And never taking responsibility that who am I actually being, right? So that's the thing with the coaching business. You must be able to look within and really ask. You must be able to take complete accountability and responsibility of your life and your business. That whatever is happening, I'm willing to look within and see that this is who I was being, and that is why I'm getting this result, right? So that is why you must ask, am I willing to fully commit to my business, right? And second, again, very important, do I have a coach with me who can help me expand my horizons? See, a life coaching business is different from other businesses. In other businesses, for example, let's say if it's a product-based business, you require different types of investment. So for example, as I gave you one yesterday as well, that let's say if I have a cafe, my investment is going to be chefs, hiring waiters, getting equipment, paying the rent for a place. That's what my investment is. In a life coaching business, your investment is going to be a coach. Because why? A life coaching business comes from your brain. Okay. It's literally your brain doing all the work. So what is your biggest asset? Your brain. So you have to invest in your brain. If you don't, it's not going to result into anything. It's the same thing. Let's say if I open a cafe and I decide, no, I will do everything. I will serve, I will cook, I will not have a good place. What is going to happen? I'm going to repel customers. I'm not actually going to make any money. It's the same thing with the coaching business. If you don't invest in your brain, you're going to hit a roadblock and you will actually not be able to expand. So hire a coach, work with them, work on your limiting beliefs, help them, like take their help in expanding your business and take their help in solving any problem or challenges that are coming. Even to this day, I have a coach. From the beginning I've started my career to now, I've always had a coach with me. And that is why my growth as a coach has been much higher than most people in a short span of time and in a sustainable way, right? It's because I've always made sure that I invest in my brain. And this is again a very important question, which is, am I willing to be patient with my business without expecting it to churn out money every single day? Again, when people go into business, they go into it with very illusionary mindset. They tend to believe that my business has to pump out money every single day, that my business is like a cash cow, that it has to give me money every single day. And that is not how it works. Okay. A business is built over a period of time and you have to be patient with it. And the funny part is, I have seen people give 2 years to, MBAs and degrees and useless degrees that they know that they don't even want, but it feels good to have that validation. People have given 2 years to degrees that has not gotten them any jobs, but they haven't given even 1 year to their business. And that's the funny part to me, right? So if you have given 15, 16 years to your education, be willing to give at least a year to your business to stabilize. And this is going to give you the space, the headspace to be, okay, whatever pitfalls may come, and to actually learn how to build a business, because building a business is also a skill, right? A lot of people just go into business thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be a millionaire overnight. That's not how it works. Okay. So ask yourself, am I willing to hold my business's hand instead of always expecting it to pump out cash? Because you also share a relationship with your business. Okay. When you're always expecting that relationship to be transactional, then that relationship is never going to give you anything meaningful. Think of it like this. Let's say you have a friend who always comes to you for money. And if you're not doing well, let's say one day you are unable to give money because, let's say, you don't have it, and that person starts to abuse you, criticize you. What are you going to feel? That this person is selfish. This person just came here to use me. This person never cared about me. That's the exact same thing that happens when you treat your business or even your career that way, to be honest. When you don't invest anything in your career, when you don't invest anything in your business, but you expect your business to give you something, when you expect your career to give you something, that is when you need to know where you're going wrong. Most people do this. They don't want to invest money into the business. They don't want to invest money or time or energy, anything into the business, and they expect that it should give that back to me. That's not how it works. It's a relationship, and it's always a give and take. You must first give to be able to take later. And the most important question is, are you willing to be more? Not do more, be more. Are you willing to be more courageous? Are you willing to charge more without feeling anxious? Are you willing to learn more? Are you willing to accept and be humble that I don't know everything? Are you willing to be more patient? So, all in all, you must ask, am I willing to be more as a person in terms of the qualities I have, in terms of the character I have, so that I can actually do less? Because to do less, you have to be more as a person. Only people who hustle all their life and don't make any money or get any results are people who are focusing on doing more, but they're being very less, right? So to actually do less, to work less number of hours, you have to focus on being more as a person, being more patient, being more courageous, being more open, right? Now, this is again a very important part. This is something I think when I started my business, I was very aware of my fears, but I never actually sat down and wrote about them. But this is something I did maybe after like 6, 7 months of my business, which is where I saw, my income take a very big rise. So you must ask this set of questions to yourself and get coached around as well, because this is again going to give you a deeper insight into who you are being as a person, because your coaching business is more about who are you being instead of what are you doing every single day. Okay. So first is, what are your biggest fears around what are my biggest fears around my business? That's the first question you must ask. So when I asked this question to myself, I realized that my biggest fear was that I will have to go back to a career I absolutely hate. That was my biggest fear. And if that happened, I would obviously ultimately, fail at it, because if you don't like something, you're not going to be successful in it. That's a very big truth. And the next fear of mine was being dependent, right? That's something I hated. I never wanted to depend on anyone, even though, I had the privilege of coming from a good home. I never felt like, okay, I want to depend on someone so that I want to depend on my parents so that they can meet my expenses. Or you know what, I'm going to get married and my partner will take care of my expenses. That is something that I was never okay with. I always wanted to rely on my own. So freedom and independence has always been my core value. So my biggest fear was that. My biggest fear was that I will have to go back to a job that I absolutely hate, which means that every single day I'm dreading it. Second is, my biggest fear was that I will have to depend on someone. So I worked on both of these fears with my coach. Second is, what is an outcome that scares me the most? So this was connected with the first question. For me, the outcome was that I'm going to give up. So here's a funny thing. One thing I understood very early on is that business is a result of you not giving up. Literally the simplest thing I can tell you. When you are not willing to give up, specifically in a life coaching business, it is going to be a success. And business, a life coaching business does not really fail. It's the person who gives up behind that. And my fear was that I'm going to give up on it because, I may either burn out or my fears may get very high or something will happen. So that was my fear, that I may give up. And again, this is a fear that I worked with my coach around, right? And I realized that I am someone who actually never gives up. So this fear of mine was very irrational, yet it was a very big one for me. So again, this could be different for you. You could have different sets of fears, but it's very important to ask, what is something that I'm afraid of the most will happen if I do start my business? And next is, what do I think and feel that is creating friction for me to go all in? Now, for me, before I starting charging whatever I charge for my, coaching business or for my one-on-one clients, the one question, the one friction that I had before charging high, which is again a lot of coaches have, is what if people say no? And I was willing to make an offer again and again, right? But my fear was that if enough number of people said no, I will give up, which is again tied to the second question I answered. So all of this was connected for me. And that's the thing with fears. Most of your fears are always interconnected. Once you start healing one of them, once you start healing the trauma around behind one of them, all of them start to unravel and all of them start to heal together. So for me, my biggest friction, you know, when I wanted to charge more, when I wanted to play big in my business, was that people may say no. And if enough people say no, I will give up. And that's it. That will be the end of my business and I'm going to have to go back to my job. So you see, all of it was interconnected. And that's true for all of us. Most of our fears are interconnected. And that is why you start working on one of them, all of them will start to unravel. Now, the last part you must understand is, never ever go into coaching when you're desperate for money, because coaching is a business that you do from your nervous system and your brain. When you are desperate, you're very fearful. When you're fearful, you're very tight. Your critical thinking goes down. You actually don't have the ability to think, right? So when you are desperate for money, go do a job, create money in your life, feel safe, and then go into coaching. Because when you are coaching, you have to first believe that whatever I want, I am able to create it. That is why it's so important to get yourself coached. It's so important to be trained under someone you actually trust and get coached around your limiting beliefs. Because if you don't, then the desperation will kick in and it's going to determine everything in your business. Because when you are a life coach, your brain is where your business is coming from. So when your brain is disturbed, when you yourself have so many limiting beliefs, you will never be able to attract clients who would actually want to pay you, right? There is also a difference between a highly paid coach and a coach who's struggling. And here certification makes zero difference. The reason I keep saying this again and again, and even though I have a training program where I will be, you will be getting certified when you with me, I will never ever tell you to think that this is something that is going to ensure success. I have known people who have paid a lot of money for different certificates, but they have done nothing in their coaching businesses. They've actually not made money that they want to make, right? So remember that certification is just for you, that okay, I've completed my certain hours and I've actually gotten trained. It means nothing apart from that, because as I told you, business is different from a job. In job, people will ask you that, do you people will ask for validation from you. Do you have this institution's validation? Did you come from this college? A business will never ask you that. The only thing a business will ask you is your commitment, right? So your commitment level should be very high and your vanity should be very low. Okay, so this is it for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. You can either type it down in the chat box or you can unmute yourself. I've allowed you guys to unmute. Okay, so I'm guessing for today we don't have any questions. If you have any, you can always text in our WhatsApp group, which is the Empowered Coach community. And for the ones who are watching this as a recording, if you guys have any questions that are coming up for you, you can always DM me on LinkedIn or WhatsApp, or just put it in the comment section of YouTube, wherever you're watching it. And I will see you guys soon for the next community session that we're going to have next week. Bye bye.